We are breaking down the day after Election Day. Latest update for you. Nevada, still counting. Arizona, still counting. Georgia, headed to a runoff. Otherwise, it is going to be several days, I believe, before we know exactly who won the Senate. Things are looking good in the House, but we are still waiting to know exactly what is going to happen there. If you are just getting in the car with us, Senator Ron Johnson has won. And so, again, as we told you it likely would, this race still coming down for who controls the Senate to Georgia, to Nevada, to Arizona. Whoever wins 2 out of 3 of those seats will have control. Now, of course, Democrats have the tiebreak, which is where we are right now. They have flipped one seat right now in Pennsylvania. Laxalt is up in Nevada. That is looking good. We will see what happens in Arizona. I want to read you this, which was just tweeted by Carrie Lake. Wow, we're going to win big. Stay tuned, Arizona. Remaining ballots, Election Day, and early drop-offs are all breaking bigly, all caps, for us, just like we knew they would. Carrie Lake, very close to taking the lead already in Arizona. And what she has just tweeted out is that the remaining votes that are out there, and let me look at the most the latest tally, at least out there, Buck, right now. She is down 12,000 votes with 66% of the votes in Arizona. Now, the Blake Masters people who are running behind Carrie Lake right now also think that they still have a chance to make a run. But the Carrie Lake people are saying she is going to win in Arizona. So figuring out exactly the postmortem, Buck, can be a bit difficult because, let's be honest, if we won Nevada and Herschel ends up winning the runoff and we win the Senate and we win the House, it's a pretty good day.
This is what I'm saying. I mean, It definitely, last night is almost certainly going to be a move for the GOP in the right direction.
Yes, better than it was.
Better than it was with House control. There is a real chance here of Senate control still. And Carrie Lake's victory in Arizona, certainly for Arizonans, would be great, and we think that she'll be a major voice for the party going forward. So look, no one's saying it wasn't a catastrophe, right? We're not being catastrophists here, but relative to what the numbers were showing, there was underperformance. Now, we did say many times, this is why we kept saying, it's looking good, please get out and vote. It's going to be super tight. Anytime you're talking about elections that will be decided with such small percentages of the vote. I mean, I'm going to go out there on a limb right now and say, guess what? 2024 Pennsylvania, probably going to be a really tight election.
No matter who the nominees are.
Doesn't matter. Yeah. 2024 Georgia, probably going to be a really tight election. This is I tweeted before, I was kind of kidding. The problem is there are too many Democrat voters in some of these states.
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't mean we can't win in those states, but what we saw here, and I think that this is a lot of what you and I first of all, you and I, as everyone knows, came together on the issue of COVID sanity.
Yep.
The first time I ever actually talked to Clay on a radio show, we're like, what is wrong? Why are all these lunatics like Fauci locking us down with the masks? It's so stupid. That seemed to be a non-factor in the election, which for us, I think, was just disappointing. And it just goes to show the political trench warfare that we're in right now. So that was one part of it. And also that you could have all the major issues that everyone agrees are the major issues, having Democrat failure all over them, economy, crime, the border. Everyone agreed those were the issues. The top three didn't really matter. Not in the way that we thought it would. Republicans showed up in these states. Democrats showed up in these states. Any sense that there were a lot of defections from the Democrat side, I think that has been wiped away, and that there was going to be, that we did a little better than expected with Hispanic voters in some places, which is great. Hopefully we get a lot more of that. No surprises, though, in a lot of these places. I mean, this is what's so interesting. All the data that said things were shifting in big ways anywhere, if you just counted that, if you said that's nothing, you would have basically known what last night was going to look like, which was I said last night, remember this? I'd had a few shots of tequila at this point. Casa Dragonas, by the way.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
We got it for Jesse because we wanted to make sure that he had his super expensive tequila, Jesse Kelly, our buddy. And thanks to him and thanks to Michael Berry for showing up last night, too.
Fantastic.
Super fun guys to have at your party and super insightful political minds, guys that's fun to watch the returns come in with. So we had a great time. But I said last night, it's kind of a gentleman's B-plus night. Did you guys ever talk about the gentleman's B-plus at GW? We talked about this
called
at
it
Amherst.
the gentleman's C. So you were more...
Amherst.
Yeah.
People wear ascots at Amherst.
On the B+. We had a lot of gentleman's C's.
Okay, yeah. So last night for the GOP, it's a gentleman's B-plus. It's nothing for people to be down about. It just wasn't... Florida was what we were hoping would be there'd be ramifications across the country, and that didn't happen. Although Florida, I mean...
We got the
bow
red
down
tsunami.
to Florida, my friends, because it's amazing.
We got the red tsunami in Florida. And look, we're texting and continuing to get updates. If Nevada and Arizona both end up going red, then we could win the Senate not even having to worry about what could happen with Herschel. That's not a crazy idea. I think the most likely outcome now would be that it comes down to Georgia again for control of the Senate. But I think we'd bump up to an A-, right? If you win the Senate and you win the House, that's an A.
Now
right?
you're
in the A category.
Look, the governor's races, and this is so. I've really been trying to think about this. The governor's races. I was very open about this, and you've been very open about this. It was really COVID and crime.
Yeah,
I think for us. And do people care enough in those states? Now they had a chance. And the truth is, they didn't care. They cared. They certainly cared in New York. It was the best Republican showing we've seen in a long time, certainly over a decade, and they cared. They didn't care enough. The governor's races would have just been more of, I think, spiritual and narrative victories for sanity. But if we're really looking at the cold, hard facts, if you get we got the House pretty much. You get the Senate. I mean, okay, we didn't get 54 seats, but having control is what really matters.
51 versus 50 is seismically different, as many of you know. All right, talking positive negatives. I think one of the biggest things to come out of this is, Buck, I said it on the show. I was wrong on this. I will own it. I think you're going to get a stake on this one. I thought Joe Biden would get swept out in the red tsunami. I thought that we were going to have a nationwide repudiation of the Biden administration. Instead, Biden is not going to have a disastrous result in the midterms. And given the numbers that we see out there, I think a lot of Democrats are going to look at it and say, we're going to run the same game plan again in 2024, even though Joe Biden is 82 and dementia-riddled and unable to actually do the job of president. We just got John Fetterman and dragged his broke ass right across the finish line. We're going to do Weekend at Bernie's Part 2.
Yep.
Joe Biden is going to be the nominee.
Yep.
You stuck to your guns on it. I thought he was going to be the major casualty of the red tsunami. And so I think if you're a Republican waking up today, the one positive is I don't think Biden is that good of a candidate. And I do believe that if the Republicans nominate the right candidate in 24, and there's going to be a big nominating battle fight over this, I think we could break up some of that trench warfare because I think it's going to be hard. As bad as Biden is now, Buck, imagine how much worse he's going to be in 2 years.
So this is, first of all, thank you for
yes.
the.
I've lost this
I'm just
one.
going to tell you, you're probably buying me 2 steaks, so you're going to have to take me in care.
And by the way, unless
Hunter Biden's not getting indicted now, my man. No way, no how.
I think he still might because I still think they might indict Trump, and that's the way that they do it.
Well, it was this year we said, to be fair, but okay, maybe you think Hunter's still going to get indicted, although, I don't know.
I'm not sure that Democrats fear Trump. I will say at this point, after these results,
I'm just going to say this, and I don't want to upset anybody because I know Trump did so much for the country, was such a good president. The Democrats want Trump. They want him to be the nominee. Now, people might be shouting right now, and they might be right. Yeah, Trump will show them. That may be true.
Correct.
But I assure everybody, and I do, either Democrats that I still speak to just to get a sense of what I won't say the enemy, what the opposition thinks.
Yeah.
They want Trump. They want Biden Trump. Look what happened last night. Look at the 2020 results. They want Trump. So we have to take that into account. Now, I think that Biden is certainly going to be the nominee. And you remember, I think it's a very underrated superhero movie, Blade.
Oh, yeah, it's
Wesley
great.
Snipes.
Yeah, it's
really
fantastic.
good from the 90s.
Yes.
Very underrated. So it was before all the... There's a quote that he says, I think he's quoting somebody, I don't know who it is, but he says, when you understand the nature of a thing, you understand what it's capable of.
Yeah.
I understand the nature of the lib. I understand that they are ruthless. And what's amazing is that I thought that beforehand just because initially I had expected they won't make it Biden. I'm talking about now 2020. They won't make it Biden because that's so crazy. I learned a lesson, and the lesson was anything, anyone, they don't care. Now when you pile on top of that, the John Fetterman situation.
It changed my opinion.
You're in that same place now, but you realize when you understand the nature of the lib, they are capable of anything for power. They will prop Joe Biden up, and they will feel not the least bit of shame. Clay, if he runs for re-election and wins and steps down 6 months after winning, they won't be like, we lied to everybody. They'll laugh.
The data, I think you have to constantly be questioning your opinions based on new information and new data. That's what rational and intelligent people do. And the way that they were able to drag John Fetterman across the finish line was so staggering to me that I said there's no way they're kicking Biden to the curb. Now, Biden might legitimately have a health condition in the next 2 years. He might die, right?
Yeah.
I mean, at his age, and I don't want it to happen, certainly, but when you're 79 or 80 years old, people get sick, people get unhealthy. 2 years and more in the White House, there's no telling what his physical condition might deteriorate to. But if they are physically able to do so, they are going to nominate Joe Biden, and they are going to try to drag him across the line again, just like they did with John Fetterman, Weekend at Bernie's 2 style. So I think if you're a strategic analyzer of the larger political picture, you need to be thinking, okay, who can beat Joe Biden? Who gets us out of this trench warfare? Buck, it's almost like the last 2 years didn't happen. Other than Florida, where we got the red tsunami, you pretty much could snap your fingers, and it's like people voted the day after the 2020 presidential election, because it's essentially, what are we going to be in the Senate? 50-50-ish. What are we going to be in the House? 50-50-ish. There's almost not any dividing line at all. It's as if the last 2 years didn't happen.